Hey, everybody, it's your friend James Shaw. Thank you so much for choosing to be with us today and to learn and grow and get better. That's what we do inside of this community is work to make sure that you're running a business is in alignment with your values, that you're helping as many people in as your community as you can, and you're living that life that's great for you. And today we're going to talk to an agent who's doing just that. Jarrett, who's in Chesapeake area of Virginia, which I love. As we were talking about, my wife's from Chesapeake. She went to Western Branch High School. We got married in Chesapeake. Do you know why my wife and I got married in Virginia, Jarrett?
No, I don't. Tell me why.
Because Virginia is for lovers. That's
That's
why.
for lovers. That's what
It
they
is.
say, right?
It is. Yeah. So you're right there. You're just down the street from where my wife grew up. It's an honor to have you on. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Jarrett Caldwell. I am the team leader of JMD Elite Services LLC. I've been in business for almost a decade now, and I would love to share some of my experiences with the community. And before I get too far, I am a firm believer of giving my flowers to people who are, desired and deserved. And James, thank you so much for this opportunity. You don't know what you have done for my business and what impact you've had on my life. You don't remember this, so I'm going to friendly remind you at a family reunion about 2 years ago when you started this, when you decided that the Lord placed upon your heart that you needed to go out and reach out to the community. I was one of the people you reached out to and you didn't know it. I was on your morning broadcast listening to you in a very dark, weird space in real estate. And because of your ability to reach the masses in a simple but profound way, you deserve a lot of praise. So this is
Oh,
my praise to you.
thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you for all you've done and thank you what you've done for the industry and for this community.
Thank you so much. That's very, very kind. And it's been a fun journey over the last few years. And I do feel it's almost a calling. And so I appreciate you honoring that. And I take it and I appreciate you so much. And now is your chance for you to give back as well, because you're doing some really cool stuff. You've been in business 10 years and you've done like solo agent team, back to solo agent. It's always a journey. But what are some things you've learned in that process before we dive into what really you're passionate about?
That's a really great question. I think a lot of what I've learned along the way is that what I have inside of me is not necessarily people enjoy to see the accolades, people enjoy to see, the awards and things along those lines, but they don't really understand the process and procedure of what it takes to get there. And a lot of people who I've worked with in the past have made mention of, does it really take all that? And my response to that is typically, this is the only way I know to do it. And this has rendered me some levels of success. So maybe it does take all of that. I think a lot of people underestimate the work behind the scenes. When you are signing up for greatness, when you're asking for greatness, and you ask Lord to make you great, you're signing up for being a problem solver. You're signing up for being available for late nights. You're signing up to be publicly scrutinized. You're signing up for all these things as an ability to be great. So when you are talking to your people, you are signing up for them to bring you the best problems, so you can bring in the possibilities for a good solution. So that's something I've just learned along the way, that I can't take it personal when people don't match my energy. I either
Mhm.
have to coach them up or I have to allow them to learn this journey on their own.
Yeah. That's very true. Now you moved to Virginia with your wife. Your wife's prior military, and thank you to her for her service. And that's a big military market.
Yeah.
Hampton Roads area, Virginia definitely is. And so as you built the business, you have decided to make the community a big part of what you do, and that's going to be the focus of our session today. Is this idea of really giving back? Can you tell everybody what it is that you do to give back, and then we're going to unpack how you do it.
Very good. So I am a firm believer of Jesus Christ. That's my mission. My mission for my team is transforming lives through Jesus Christ using the vehicle of real estate. We desire to be inspired, inviting, innovative, invested, and God to get the increase in all that we do. So my giving back to the community is simply, I'm a believer of what the word says. The word does give us, the notion to tithe. So I tithe off of my business, meaning that for every transaction that I do, I give a tenth to the community as my ability to give back, with the hope and the belief that the Lord will bless the other 90% that I remake.
Yeah, it's really important. Now, just as a quick sidebar, and Jared, just so you know, we were having a little bit of an audio issue. I don't know if something is covering your mic or whatever, but maybe reposition your laptop a
Sure.
bit. There we go. And I know people are listening, and I'm sure the chat is saying, I can barely hear Jarrett. We know we'll move the computer around and we'll be fine, but this is what happens when we roll with it like this. But you know what your mission is. You want to tithe. You want to make sure you're giving off the top, and then you know that's an important piece of the world for you. And so you actually set up your business plan around giving back first. And so can you tell us a little bit about how you've done that?
Yes, 2 seconds. Let me try to make sure I
You
put my
sound great. Yeah, roll with it. Keep your computer right where it is. You sound awesome.
perfect. So yes, uh, the way I have structured my business, and I'm so glad the Lord kind of placed this on my heart, is that I took the economic model, where the economic model tells us to start off with what you desire to make. That's what the economic model starts, and then it branches off from there. I decided to change that up slightly for the mission of what I do is how much do I want to give back? So I will start off each of my years. Typically, the month of January, me and my team go through a fast. And then from there, we try to hear from the Lord as to what He wants us to give back. And typically, the number He wants me to give back that I receive in my heart and my spirit is something that is not readily available for me. So then I have to make that the mission. And I believe that, so for example, I have made the vow for this year of giving back $50,000. So I start off with $50,000 at the realm of what I'm doing. And then I start working my numbers backwards from there. So if I look at my numbers and say that on average, my sales price of home is $300,000, I'm looking at 3% on typical commissions. It's about $9,000. I give back a tenth of that. That's $900. And then how many of those $900 do I need to make $50,000 of giving back? It's about 55 point something as far as transactions need to happen. Now, of course, you have transactions that are more, you have transactions that are less, but when you average that out, we're looking at about 55 deals this year that we need to do in order to accomplish the goal of giving back the $50,000.
And so that's the economic model, and it's figuring out what's important to you and working it backwards from there. The first year you did this, the number that you chose was 30,000,
It was
and take us on that journey, because the first thing that comes to mind for me is awesome mission, awesome goal. It does set the tone for the year. But then I almost wonder, like, do I feel behind all the time because I've set this big giving goal? So how do we keep perspective around that? But then tell us how you did that first year at 30 grand.
great. So this was a big deal for me because in my lifetime, at that point, I had never given back more than $10,000, probably a little bit less than that, probably $9,000 for a given year. And so when this number was given to me and the thought process was given to me, it never was given to me in the economic model when I first started it. It was just, this is a number, make it happen. And then I had to use the tools and the skill sets that I've learned through being at Keller Williams. How can I make this plausible? Right. So I then broke it down that way. But initially it was, Jared, you're giving back $30,000. Where is this happening from? I don't have $30,000 to give. And I guess it kind of goes through my journey of where real estate was for me at the time. My first year in real estate, I did 4 transactions. My second year, full year, I did 25. And then it just went on and went from there. So my first year that I made this vow was after the year of giving for doing 25 transactions. And then I just pushed that bar a little bit more. And once again, I don't even think my first year I did this, it was kind of like that. It was where, I feel behind, I feel behind. But then you have to remember that this isn't something that is supposed to be a pressure. This is something that I'm giving because this is what the Lord has placed in my heart. And it's just having the appropriate mindset that goes with that. So I don't feel the pressure because if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, it's not going to be because I didn't try my hardest to make it there. And if I'm being fully transparent, I have not hit the number every single time. And I've had to make it up on the back end because, praise the Lord, my wife is employed and she does have a GS-13 position. And so if I miss, I do have a backup who's able to also assist with making sure we're hitting some of our goals as well. So it's great to have that partnership. So the pressure's not there. The joy of wanting to do this in order to give back, and I give back in many ways. It's vehicles being the church. I give directly to sources. I am not one, you have to have, you didn't ask this question, but I just want to go ahead and add this. One of the hardest things that I found out in this process of giving is making sure that people are able to receive. Meaning that when you put up the boundaries of why you're giving and how you're giving and what you're giving to, finding the appropriate people who are able to receive it sometimes is a little bit more difficult than I ever expected it to be. I had boundaries around the type of institution I was giving to. You had to have the appropriate credentials to receive, and then you had to have a specific need for me to give to you. I'm not here to give to your bank account. While that might be great and wonderful for somebody, I want to make sure that the funds that I am providing are doing direct impact. So past things I've given to are blanket drives where somebody has made a decision and has posted something on one of my socials and said, "Hey, I'm looking to give blankets, and I'm from the St. Louis area naturally, and it gets very, very cold in the wintertime. And they wanted to give some decent sized blankets to the homeless. And so when I heard the message wasn't given to me directly. When I heard it, I reached out to the person and said, "Hey, what are you looking to receive? How does this work? What do you think it's going to cost all in?" They kind of fed me some numbers. And then I told them, "Okay, I'm gonna write you a check." Caught them completely off guard. They didn't expect for that to happen. A nice check for $5,000 that was unexpected when they thought they would have to do some type of crowdfunding or something along those lines in order to source this out. We were able to help and directly impact the community in that way. So we do that for grocery initiatives. We do that for past experiences where churches that I've grown up in, because being military, I've been all over the United States at one point in time or another. There's some past churches where I'll say, "Hey, what is your biggest bill that you have that comes in that's reoccurring?" And 9 times out of 10, it's their mortgage. So I will say, "Hey, let me take on your next 2 mortgage payments. This is me giving back to you guys because when I was in your area, when I was in your location, you blessed me. And in that time, I was not able to do what I'm doing now. But now that the Lord has blessed me, let me give this back." So what I've seen is the expansion of having an open hand, meaning that the Lord knows that if it enters my hand, it's not going to be, held on too tightly. It's always going to be an open vessel, and as it pours into me, it pours down. I live a very simple life. I don't have a lot of major bills. My family is growing. I have 2 young boys and my wife, but we don't do anything extravagant. So being able to be a vessel to be used to funnel the funds from one place to another location has been what the Lord has allowed me to make the levels of success in real estate that I've had.
Your extravagance is the way that you give back. To be able to call an organization in your hometown of St. Louis and say, "I want to be able to do this for you. Here's $5,000," that's the extravagance of you giving back, which is great. It sounds like you've learned some lessons in this process, and I love the idea of setting, right. Here's my giving goal for the year. You plug it into the model, and now that drives what you get up and do every day. And a lot of people lack an understanding of the big why. You've told us what yours is. That's your big why. And then you've learned some lessons on make sure the organization is prepared to receive, and that you have a way to give and all that stuff. But I'm curious about how this mission has then helped you on your day to day. How do you get up day to day? Then now you get your lead gen done. Now you're doing your consultations and getting contracts and getting listings taken. How has this mission helped you on your day to day work?
It helps me. It drives me. It gives me, like you said, the big why. A lot of people who suffer through figuring out what to do with real estate is because their why is not big enough. I think you hit that on the head. And knowing that if it was just for me, if it was just about me, if it was just about my family, um, we are good. And that's, to God be the glory for that. But knowing that there's so many more people that we have the ability to connect and to assist and to be able to grow and be able to provide for, that means so much more than just waking up and making sure the light bill is paid and making sure that the mortgage is paid. So it allows me to consistently keep my mind on a bigger prize that's bigger than myself, and knowing that I'm just one portion of the totality of the need that actually needs to be met in that moment. So that
That's
does
great.
help me.
Okay, so then tell me a little bit about the things you've learned doing this that would be things that agents who want to do something similar should consider.
Sure. So you start off where you are. You don't have to do. I grew up in the church, so my mind naturally goes to the mindset of biblical principles. One thing about principles work whether you believe in it or not, right? So there is a gift in giving. Give and it shall be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Men shall give unto your bosom. That's what the word says. And with knowing that, I suggest that even if you aren't necessarily a believer like I am, which I'm not here to preach that upon anybody, there is a principle in the Bible where this is one of the only things that the Lord says, try me in giving and see if I do not bless you. See if I do not do exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask, think, or imagine. So I suggest, or I would tell somebody, try somewhere. Maybe it's not 10%. Maybe it's 5%. Maybe it's 1%. Find something that you're passionate about and get it out of your hands. Because the longer it stays in your hand, that is more of there's the principle and the concept comes behind reaping and sowing, right? If you hold on to it, that will be what you reap. But if you use that as a seed and you plant it, it grows into something greater. And then that blessing that comes back to you has the potential. Are you happy with what you have in your hand, or if you throw that down and you grow it and it comes back something 10 times greater, 100 times greater, whatever the case may be. So start somewhere. That's where if you're interested in getting started in giving, find something that you are passionate about, something that you are interested in, and then make a list of what and how you want your funds to be used. Because there are, unfortunately, people out here who are not great with money. Most people are not great with money. So you have to come in knowing what you're giving to, why you're giving, and how you plan on doing it, and set the rules, set the guidelines, because it's your funds, it's your money. Now, I'm not here to run anybody's organization. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do within their organization. But what I will say is that if you do want funds from me, these are the outline of how I will give those funds. And if it doesn't work for you, great. I will go to the next person, the next situation. But if you are okay with this, these are the rules that I have to follow.
That's really good. You get your standards and expectations. How has this shift in your focus impacted your business?
We are now known and expected for that. There's a level of expectation now that we are going to give. And I'm okay with that because I really believe, once again, when you ask for greatness, you are asking for other things. You're asking for expectations to be placed upon you. You're asking for the scrutiny of the public if necessary, if that happens to happen when you are asking to be great. So now I get the friendly letters. Hey, last year in your giving contribution letter, you gave this amount. Would you be interested in? Would you be willing to? Okay, well, let me pray about this. This is where the Lord led me this year. Don't know if it's necessarily the next year. So there's a lot of that. Then you also have to be mindful of, once again, doing your due diligence checks. Make sure that what you said was done was actually completed. And then if it wasn't completed or was not done appropriately, make sure that you're able to shift based off of your sources, based off of how you have your outlines for how you plan for those funds to be done. And then at the end of the day, make sure you give with a grateful heart. Make sure your heart is in the right place. This isn't a matter of I'm giving to you, scratch my back, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. It's literally giving because this is the thing that you felt in your heart that you were to impact the world with. I hope that
Yeah,
makes sense.
it does. It makes total sense. What's your final thought as we wrap up and you want someone to get, this one key piece out of our conversation?
Sure. Final thought. I really believe that if we were all more open with the opportunities that have been placed before us, the expansion of that greatness can go far beyond your four walls of your home. It can go out into the community, then it can go out into the state, then it can go out into the nation, and then it can go out to the countries, and it can go as far as you desire it to be, but it has to start somewhere. So if you take the time and if you really want to be an impact, if you want to transform lives in your lifetime, you have to take that first step. And this is the first step for me that's grown into other areas.
It's so great. Thank you so much for giving back to your community and for supporting it. Also, it's so cool to hear that you can build a business around the things that are important to you to get a big why so you can get up and do what you need to do every day. Thanks for teaching it to us, Jarrett. I appreciate you. Be well.
Thank you so much, Mr. James. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys, everybody.